We say things that don't mean anything, but thanks for listening. Yeah. Welcome to We Say Things, episode 36, sponsored by
36.
Nobody's SUNSfan with syndereN. How are you, sir? Welcome.
I was like, have you ever tried a voice jammer?
No.
Do you know what it is?
No.
Okay, you need to try a voice jammer.
What is it?
It's either an app on a phone or like a computer setup where when you talk, you hear yourself at a delay of every word you say, and it fucks with your mind so hard that you can't continue a sentence after like 2 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
I thought you got jammed a little bit when I started repeating you a little bit. You stumbled.
Get jammed. Me of a jam. Yeah, it wasn't on purpose at all, Cinder. It was all you. Okay. Take full credit by all means.
No. I just honestly, we should try a voice jammer on the podcast. That would be hilarious. That's a good bit. No. We do it next time, and then we can do it when I watch in Bruges. Okay.
Sure. Sounds good. Okay. Anytime.
Yeah.
Before we get started, Cinder, we haven't done reviews in quite a while. Would you like to take a couple for this week?
God, these are some... Okay, I do the short ones.
You do the first two, I'll do the last two. Just do it in order.
First one is from Dachuga from Japan.
Oh, awesome.
That's probably a VPN, because nobody does Dota in Japan.
Almost.
Titled, great podcast, 5 stars, in Bruges. Thank you. That's a great review.
It's just in Bruges. Love it.
And we have Elio.ke from Switzerland. Podcast for fine arts and haute cuisine aficionados. Okay, that's very true. That's me right there. I'm all about the fine arts. As a connoisseur of fine arts and haute cuisine, this is a must-listen podcast. The two hosts take you on a journey into their sophisticated world and reveal tips about the fine way of living. Ranging from exotic fruits to timeless classics, such as In Bruges, this podcast offers everything and more. Also, the part where they talk about Dota 2 and eSports is good. Greetings from Switzerland.
All right, I'm going to sound like a ignorant idiot. That word that you keep saying, I don't know what that means. I've never heard it. I've never seen it. Yeah. It's Haute. What does that mean?
So in the context I know it from is called haute couture, which is about very expensive clothing that's like custom fitted, made with, it's the kind of
upscale?
No. What's that called? There's like a designer festival or whatever that's really famous that does haute couture, and it's like very expensive clothes.
So high end.
It's like, I guess, but they're not for sale. You know what I mean? It's like they're made specifically just to be shown off in this competition or whatever.
So it fits perfectly because we don't sell any sponsors for the show.
You can technically buy them, but you can't. Like, you have to put in a custom order and have them custom made, right? So anyway, if it's like that, but with food, then it's like crème de la crème for food, Shannon. That's what we talk about.
Crème de la crème. Yep.
Crème de la crème.
Got it. Next, a review from Throb or Die. That sounds very sexual, from the United States of America. His title is We Complain About Things and Dota. I love hearing SUNSfan complaints about gaming in general, and Sin being a weirdo, nonchalant caster we all know and love, talking about how he doesn't care about In Bruges. Thank you for that beautiful review. Yes, you are a weirdo. I figured,
Shannon?
Yeah, I would say that's probably a good description. Okay. Definitely nonchalant. And the last review is from Tank for Zion 2019. Oh, okay. Very nice. From Canada. Great podcast, I guess. 5 stars. Hey, SUNSfan and Sin, love your podcast and keep doing what you do. I'm also a huge NBA fan and have 2 questions about the current state of future of Dota 2. So we're going to turn this into a bit of a segment. In the NBA, it's coming to the point where they draw more viewers and clicks from stories and drama around free agency and trades rather than the actual games. Do you think Dota 2 will ever get to that point? It's there sort of right now with the shuffles, but the NBA is a different beast. They're always talking about contracts where players get end up with where they can end up than the actual games themselves. Number 2, in American sport coverage, you have a lot of hot take shows like First Take, Get Up, etc., where they give stupid hot takes about different players and teams. I know exactly what this guy's talking about. I know that syndereN is befuddled right now. Do you ever see esports starting these kind of shows if it gets big enough? P.S. It brings me great joy that the Suns are finally coming back to earth. Great job again, guys.
That's when you know it's an old review.
They've stabilized a bit. I mean, we don't need to go into detail, but this is an interesting topic because there are a lot of parallels you can take from traditional sports and esports. And the second point, especially where these shows, I don't know, you've seen it. Think of an American show. What's the first thing you think of, syndereN? Like sports. Do you think of obnoxious people? Yeah. They're very obnoxious. Like Stephen A. Smith is probably the most famous one. God, he's so fucking annoying, actually. He just gives like a stupid opinion. Okay, this is going to go off on a little tangent. His headline today, this literally happened today.
Like you, actually.
Sure, that's not at all the case.
Over the top and gives a stupid opinion.
No, my opinions are great. They put it into Dota. You can say Dota is stupid, and my opinions are stupid as well, so that's fine. He said that the Lakers should trade Kyle Kuzma for Devin Booker. What the fuck does that even mean? That's like trading Michael Jordan for Joe Klein. Get the fuck out of here. All right, anyway.
Sounds like you're trading a goat for a sheep. I don't know any of these people.
That's exactly
Sounds like a great trade.
That's
pretty even.
A goat for a sheep.
Depending on age. Like, if one of them has better meat and the other one has better milk, it could be an even trade, right?
Well, one of them does have a little bit more meat than the other. I will say that.
Right.
So what do you think of like those kind of shows? Do you think that's something that will become prevalent in Dota or esports in general?
Maybe. I think I've seen a little bit of that on TV to an extent when I was in the States. If it was just running when we were out having dinner or whatever, running on TV.
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely a lot of drama around roster shuffle, but I don't think it even comes close to the viewership for big games. And it's very easy for us to think that there's more happening than there is because we see it on Reddit, right? And that's still a vocal minority. I don't think, like, the number of people that frequent that compared to the number of people frequently watching streams or watching pro games is probably very skewed still. So
theoretically, you could pull it off if you had like franchising. So League of Legends, if they wanted to go down this route of like trashy TV, they could 100% pull something like this off, right? If they wanted.
I think so. And I think this might happen at some point, but for now, it's definitely not a problem that the community doesn't care enough about drama. There are so many people that care way more about this than they maybe should and are looking for drama specifically. So I think there is a market for it, but I don't think it's big enough in Dota to really be worth running. As far as this is kind of two of the same thing, right? The one thing was the drama and the other one was the show about it. And I don't think either. Give it a decade, then maybe in gaming. It's also like gaming is extremely difficult to predict because, like, if you look at where we're at now compared to 10 years ago, there's a plethora of things that could happen in the next 10 years. I think everybody who's in esports thinks it's going to grow and get bigger and bigger. But we have no idea how fragmented the player base is going to be, right? You could have it really, honestly, it's kind of up to chance. It's about how good the games are that the developers make. The less good games there are, the more players the good games will have, right? So if you imagine there's this mega game that gets made in the next 5 years that a huge player base goes to, then maybe this kind of stuff could happen. I don't think it'll ever happen for Dota, realistically.
No,
unless we get like a Dota 3 or something. I don't think the game is big enough for this kind of thing to be worth it.
Dota 3. What would be the reasoning of making a Dota 3, you think? The engine is fine, right? There's no issues. It still looks good.
Bringing it into AR or VR, sorry.
VR. Was that that'd be, it feels like you're really forcing it there, you know?
Yeah.
Does not sound comfortable.
I don't know. I mean, there's obviously, I don't think Valve will do something like this, but I think there's branding value in that. There's like, why did they call it Fortnite 2 when it's still Fortnite, right? Or what's called Overwatch 2, even though it's like an expansion pack. It gets people talking. It sounds like a big deal because it's its own title. So if Valve ever thinks that they want to do that with Dota, or if they have, they make some sort of big changes that could warrant it, then maybe. But, based on 10 years of history, I don't think it's going to happen.
Yep, I agree. I have 2 mini stories to tell before we actually begin Dota-related topics. Are you okay with that?
Okay,
syndereN?
I'm ready. I'm ready for Penis Man.
This first one. So there's been this thing in Arizona, and
oh boy, when you get prefaced with this, in
Arizona, there's a very prolific. Why am I missing the word right now? Vandalize. Is it vandalizer? What is a person that vandalizes called?
A vandal?
He's a vandal. Wow, that was easier than I thought. So there's a very famous vandal right now in Phoenix that puts the name Penis Man all over the place, all right? And the news has been covering it, and I find it so hilarious because they interview people, right? And by the way, Phoenix apparently is decent at actually getting rid of this stuff. Like within a few hours, they'll like spray paint over it or whatever. They'll fix it. But this Penis Man is just everywhere. It's prolific, right? It's just all over the place. And they've been interviewing people, and some people are like, this is unacceptable. Like my daughter saw this and she'll be tainted for life. And then other people are like, this is fucking hilarious. People like me that are just laughing the whole time. So this guy has kind of been famous in the Valley for whatever reason now.
It's like the Banksy of Arizona.
Yeah, except it's just it's literally just the word Penis Man. So he has a competitor now, yes. syndereN. There's a copycat, and he goes by Boner Guy. What team are you on? Which team are you on, syndereN? Penis Man? Boner Guy.
It's actually it's honest, I'm not gonna lie, this actually sounds like an epic battle that I would want to watch. That's pretty hilarious. I
Choose
think
one,
there's something
please.
There's something about the original. It's the simplicity of Penis Man. I like that more.
I agree.
I'm cheering for him.
I'm definitely a Penis Man. The second story is actually a little bit more random. So I want to talk about Neil for a moment because he told me something that I literally could not believe. Okay. So he has all these, like, they're not like major health issues, but he has like these random things that just happen to him all the time. Like he has tinnitus. You know what tinnitus is? You get like a ringing in your ear and it's just constant and there's no cure for it, right? It's just how it is.
Is it called tinnitus in English?
In English, tinnitus, yeah. So he has that, and he has like all this other random shit that happens. And recently, as the past couple years, he's been getting RLS. Do you know what that is? Restless leg syndrome.
Oh, it's where you...
I have restless leg syndrome as well. My dad had it. My brother has it. Actually runs in the family. So for people that don't know what that is, it's like this... there's not an easy way to explain. It's like a tickling sensation in your leg. It can happen in your calf. It depends on who you are. Your quad... Like it can happen anywhere in the leg region. It's very uncomfortable and it's really fucking annoying. Okay. Mm-hmm. And he got this a couple years ago. And I've been taking a pill. Actually, this is even a funnier story. I got prescribed a pill for it. There's no cure for it, by the way. But I did get a pill for something called Repinerol, which I take it and within 5 minutes, it's just gone for like 12 hours. I have no problems. It's the same prescription given to Parkinson's disease people. People with Parkinson's take this pill, and I take a very small dose for RLS. So I tell Neil about it. I'm like, dude, why are you... Because he's so dumb. Like, he has like an ailment of some sort, and he's so stubborn. He doesn't go to the doctor for months. He doesn't actually try to fix it for years, literally years. And I'm like, dude, it's been 2 years. He's getting up in the middle of the night, and he has to do squats, syndereN. Like, he wakes up in the middle of the night to do squats because it's so uncomfortable in his legs, okay? So I tell him, you need to go get this pill. So he goes to the doctor. They prescribe him the pill. He takes it. At first, he thinks it's working. Then it starts to get worse. I'm like, what the fuck? Just double the dosage then. Take 2 or 3. He takes it. No effect. It even gets worse. He goes to the doctor. And I talked to him yesterday. And you know what he said? It's like, it's fixed. I went to the doctor.
I don't have RLS.
I went to the doctor and I asked, why is this pill not working? And the guy says, you don't have RLS. I'm like, what?
Oh,
like,
I was right.
you're too young to have RLS. He's like, what do you mean? You're saying it's in my mind? He's like, yeah, it's in your mind. He hasn't had RLS since, syndereN. How is that possible?
Dude, what a superpower to have, actually.
It's so fucked up. And the fact that it's not the case for me. It runs in the family. Like, he's not too young to have it. I'm 34.
No, but
It's
if
not
Neil
that
could do
old.
it, so can you. So how about you just get over it, Shin?
I can't.
This is the lesson learned here is go to your doctor and say, I have RLS, and then I can tell your doctor beforehand to tell you, no, you don't, and then you go home.
One
Fixed.
day. I prefer the Parkinson's medication, personally. It really gets me high. Anywho, let's begin with Dota-related stuff. Dreamleague is coming up very soon. The major, I should say. That's going to be exciting. We can talk about the results from the minor in just a bit. I will be casting the group stage, I believe, partially with you, a couple games with you, and I'll be doing a couple games with somebody else, yet to be confirmed. So that should be fun. But let's talk about your visit, syndereN, to the minor. Tell me all about it.
I guess we should also mention, if we mentioned Dreamleague, that I'm going to go there. But it shouldn't.
Yes, of course.
It shouldn't impact our recording schedule because, as it looks, I'll be going there on the weekend following this one. So, like, I'm traveling there the 23rd, and I'll be traveling home the 27th, which means we should be able to do Tuesdays after today.
Perfect.
So we should be okay.
Perfect.
So I don't think it will affect the podcast. Okay. About the minor.
Tell me your whole story.
Honestly, pretty cool stuff. The first things that come to mind is the set itself. Like, we were in Bukovel, which is a ski resort, and it's kind of weird. The best way I can explain it is it kind of feels like a fake city, I want to call it, or a fake town. What I mean by that is that, so it's like my girlfriend and I, we were on a holiday, I think it was a year and a half ago by now, or 2 years, and we went to a place in Norway where we sailed in to this place called Flum, and it was literally tourists only. Like, it was built like it was a little town in a valley, but nobody lives there.
So it's like Bruges from In Bruges.
Yes, exactly like that. I'll tell you later why I know this.
Okay.
So no, so it felt like that, where everybody there looked like they were like tourists and were just passing through or having a holiday. And I asked, and apparently there's like maybe a few hundred people living there, but there were like thousands. So
really,
yeah, or at least 1,000. Yeah, we also came at a very specific, like a very busy time, probably, right? Because there was Orthodox Christmas on, I think, is it January 7 or 8? Either way. So yeah, people went there for Christmas holidays, right? But yeah, the set was really cool. I think WePlay does the best job in Dota at making sets. It was very cool. The Christmassy style, the outfits we had. I got to keep the clothes that I wanted, by the way, which was really cool. So I kept 2 sweaters and all the socks.
I mean, it's not like they're going to reuse it, but yeah.
Yeah, not after I've tainted them.
The problem I have with WePlay is the events that I've been to, every piece of clothing they've given, all the themes have been super uncomfortable. They give me vests that are made for like a child, essentially, and they don't fit. And then the one time I don't go, like the first Dota event they did, it was in literal pajamas. I'm like, fuck. Continue.
Right. Oh yeah, that was the Valentine's one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, what else is there to say? The tournament, the games, I would say, were, as the tournament progressed, the games got good. In the start, they were very stompy. There was just a clear tier difference between the teams, but it got better. And the biggest complaint I think people had about the tournament was the scheduling. So imagine this, the first 2 days, they run 5 best of 3s back to back. Usually in Dota, we call it, like, the upper limit is 4. That's what some LANs will do. And then you start the day at like 10 and you hope it's over at 10. They started 5 best of 3s at 10. So what happens then is, first of all, we got a bit lucky that the games were fast the first day. But obviously, if you go that late, then you kind of need to start the next day late as well. So it's kind of the snowball effect where we ended up, the latest game I cast at this tournament, it ended at 4:30 a.m., which I don't think I've ever had happened before at a LAN. Not even close. I think the latest I've ever gone before this might have been 2. Personally, it wasn't that big of a deal because I was, you just adjust to the schedule a little bit, but I could see from the player's perspective that could be, a bit of an issue.
I heard there was one team that played the first match and then the last match. Is that right?
I think that was actually Enigma.
Was it? Okay.
On one of the days, yeah. And I think that was that day. I think they played the first game and then the one that ended at like 4:30, and then the next day their first game was at 2 p.m. or something because of that. So I'm pretty sure they learned something from that. Apart from that, awesome experience.
But Valve has to approve that, the scheduling and stuff, and the group stage and all that stuff.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm
I was
99%
just
sure.
surprised. Like, I was just surprised that it went through with 5 best of 3s in a day, starting at 10. I feel like that's very ambitious. But hey, yeah. What else? The food was cool. The view was cool. I mean, we didn't do that much else than Dota as usual with these events. Some of the people went skiing a little bit as part of a bit for the show. So supposedly that was really cool. I've never gone skiing myself, and I didn't do it this time either.
Loser.
So that's boring. Yep, that's me.
Did you have a media
Loser
day?
right there? Yeah, we did.
Anything crazy?
No, not really. I mean, they had us sing as a choir.
Oh.
We sang 4 edited versions of Christmas songs with like Dota lyrics.
Oh.
And we did great. So, and I was the best singer.
I'll bet. Let's hear a rendition.
Yeah. No, that's for another time.
Okay.
Yeah, what else? I guess that's pretty much it. Obviously, by it being in Bukovel, the travel there, I think this is the longest I've ever had to travel within Europe. It must be, hands down. It took me 15 hours to get to the event from home.
That's a US to Europe travel time right there.
That's basically the same as intercontinental, yes. So that was kind of crazy. But obviously, it's because I had to do 3 flights and then a 4-hour drive.
Were you? I heard there was one bus that took
was
forever.
4 hours away. Yeah,
one bus took a long time and one didn't.
Yeah, so I was one of the last guys to come in, I think. So we were just like a couple of people in a car, but the other ones were driving in. We were just like 10 people that arrived at the same time, and I was one of the guys that went in the car, and the others went in the bus. And apparently, the bus had some sort of issue with refueling, where they were at a gas station for like an hour because he couldn't get approval for the payment because it was above the daily rate or daily limit or whatever that the company offered or something. I don't know what was going on with that. But yeah, they were held up for a while, sitting there in the cold in the car, in the bus. I don't know. Weird
Ukraine
stuff. But everybody got
very cold as well.
It worked out.
Holy shit. All right, what about the matches themselves? So I got to say this very carefully, syndereN. Team Nigma won the tournament over RNG 3-1. Did that, I mean, I shouldn't say did that surprise you? They did come from the lower bracket. That's kind of their style. RNG looked the best up until that point, but was it really that big of a surprise that they won and got their spot
going into the tournament? No, but the way they won the finals was not what I would have expected, because RNG had 2 giga leads that they lost. They won the first game, then they had a 30k lead in game 2 and lost. Then they got stomped in game 3. And then they had a 40k lead with Spectre in game 4 and lost, which is kind of completely unheard of. So I didn't watch that 4th game because I was traveling to the airport. Actually, that's why yeah. So that was another thing, right? Because of the scheduling. Actually, BSJ and we had to leave the finals broadcast. He was casting the finals, and I was on panel. And we did the first 3 games, and then we had to go.
I had no idea.
So I didn't do the 4th game.
That's so funny.
So that's why Cap swapped in for BSJ, and I think Kyle swapped in for me.
So you had your luggage at the studio, or?
No, we went back to the hotel and got it. It was very close. Like the hotel was 5 minutes walk away from so that was really nice. Like everything was really close to each other. The longest walk we ever did to get to a restaurant or something was like 10 minutes. So that was very nice.
So did you watch? So you watched the second game, right? I haven't watched any of these yet, but there was an 80-minute game. I heard there was a fallen sky.
Yes.
Do you remember any other items?
I didn't see it be used. Yeah. So, but apparently it was used. So RNG had fallen sky. They had Apex, and
Apex.
I need to look at the item list because then I can remember what Nigma had. Dota 2 neutral items. Tier 5.
Yeah, I can just look it up right now, actually.
Nigma had a mirror shield, a Stygian Desolator, and a Trident, which I think they never completed. GH had it in his backpack.
Yeah, those are unfortunate when you have to build something that I mean, that one's
Yeah.
okay. It's not the best, but okay. I see the mirror shield, so that's the 20 attributes plus the 4-second echo shield, essentially, and Desolator, both on Windrunner. Wow.
Yeah. The Deso, when we have focus fired a tier 4 tower, it got destroyed in 3 seconds, literally.
Yeah, not surprised.
But I mean, these items are not balanced relative to the game and relative to each other. And I think that's fair to expect when you have this small of a sample size. This is the first pro game that it ever happens in, that we even reach 70 minutes. What I can say is, for example, the Apex that went to Underlord, if that item would have been on the other team on the PL, he would have absolutely trashed everything, because that item is fucking bonkers on PL. So, yeah.
How many 70-minute games do you think I've been a part of?
3.
7.
7?
Dude, my games go so long. It's
Good
miserable.
God.
It's actually miserable. And 5 of them, believe it or not, syndereN, 5 of the 7. Guess what hero is in those 5 of 7? Just take a guess.
Tinker or Techies?
No.
Probably Techies.
What hero do I hate more than anything, syndereN? What
Lion?
is the cruelest way? Yes, Lion.
Why can you... How do you get a 70-minute games with Lion all the time?
I don't know. It's all the time. And it's
they want to drag out the games with Ag's Finger and just build up the stacks, huh?
Whatever team gets Fallen Sky just wins as well. It's like 100% win rate for my stack, at least. It's crazy. But anyway, so based on what you saw of these this tournament, do you think there's any heroes that need to be majorly nerfed, majorly buffed? I mean, there's a lot that need to be buffed. I think there was like 30 or 40 heroes unpicked, which is unheard of, right? Which is not a good sign. But yeah, what do you think?
I think Abaddon and Omni are both probably due for something. In this patch, at least, or in this tournament, the hard dispels were just rated kind of over everything else almost every game. It was those two, it was Doom, and then the counter to this like mega sustain kind of meta that the teams built with Abaddon, Omni and stuff, the counter hero was OD, who I also personally think is too good, which is funny because when it got changed, a lot of people thought the hero was shit, and then it just turned out you need to learn the new numbers and understand how the hero works, and then if you go for a different item build, it's suddenly god tier in the right games. Yeah, I think those heroes probably might get a change. The issue is, like, I think balancing heroes in Dota is just a lot harder now because you have neutral items. Like, some heroes are inherently just broken with the right items and not without, and I don't know how you combat that. Like, for example, Essence Ring as an item, right? It's a good item. Put it on Wisp, it's god tier. It's like totally insanely good on Wisp. How do you solve that? Do you make it not work on Wisp? Do you nerf Wisp, or do you nerf the item? And I don't think like keeping the status
quo. You can't nerf IO because of that item, though, right? Because you never know if you're going to get it.
Yeah, but that's the problem, right? Is that there's like this variance now in the game that makes balancing heroes really difficult that you didn't have in the past. Because you could balance heroes around, okay, these are the items available in the game that you can buy. And you know they're either there or they're not based on people's success in the game. Neutral items, you never know. They might be there if you're winning. They might be there if you're losing. You could get an Essence Ring on your IO. You could get a fucking repair kit. Like, you know, well, they're not the same tier, but anyway.
Do you think that any item will get deleted going forward? Any more items?
Yeah, I think we're going to lose more items. I'm not sure which ones for now, but it's hard to remember all of them by heart. I can go for a quick look here because I'll give you my, like, let's say I'll give you my top 3 that should be changed or removed, okay?
Okay.
I'll give you one per tier. Tier 1, Trusty Shovel. Needs to be reworked or removed, probably. Tier 2. The tier 2 items are honestly relatively fine overall. I think if any of them should be removed, it's probably Grove Bow or Essence Ring.
Yeah.
And then tier 3, absolutely due for a nerf. Craggy Coat or Telescope. Telescope is fucking ridiculous in the right game. And that's another example of, you know, we had some of these strategies at that event that used Venge and Drow. And if you find a Telescope with that, it's just like...
Right.
bonkers. Every hero gets extra attack range, and they get extra attack range from Venge. You had ranged heroes hitting from 1k range in that game. I think Drow with Pike, Telescope, and Venge Aura has about 1,000 range. She hits like Sniper.
And then
she
if
has
they
her
get
spell that's scaled.
all you have to do is get to 70 minutes, and you get a ballista on top of that syndereN. Beautiful.
Yeah. I think outside of those items getting nerfed, I think they should remove Repair Kit entirely. I think
that was gonna be the first one that popped in my mind that will probably get changed or deleted.
Get rid of that one. Because the problem with that item design is not necessarily that it's stupid that you can heal your towers. It's the fact that you can get an item drop that's only useful when you're behind. That's kind of weird, right? Because it means that the leading team can kind of get a dead item, whereas the losing team
provides 16 or something like that regen. That's got to be good on some heroes, though.
I think it's 13 HP regen, and you compare that to literally any other item here, it's not even close. Like the other items, all of them are better. And they have to be, right? Because it's a repair kit. So, I don't know. Yeah.
I will say this, though. Are you going to continue with tier 4?
Yeah, I can look at one tier 4. I think in tier 4, we're probably going to get a change on, I want to say, either Flicker or Witless Shaco. The Shaco
really? I wouldn't have thought of that one.
Kind of strange as an item.
I think Minotaur Horn is by far the worst item in that tier. By the way,
yeah, I would probably agree.
I think that needs a buff. I think Illusionist Cape in the right game is OP with Flicker. I think Flicker, obviously you're going in a random direction, but it dispels. Like, that's crazy. It's like a 4-second, whatever the cooldown is, insanely low. But then, if Icefrog wants data on how to balance the tier 5 items, he should look at my games. I can tell you the tiers right here, guys. It's very easy. The number 1 item by far is Fallen Sky. It's not even remotely close. By far the best. Then depending on the game, Ballista is insanely good on snipers. Apex is great on the Centaurs of the world or whatever hero, like Agility Carry. The items that absolutely suck complete dog shit ass compared to the rest. Book of the Dead, I would say, is one of the worst in this tier. Fusion Rune, since it's consumable, is one of the worst, and Phoenix Ash, since it was nerfed, is fucking garbage. You get one charge.
No,
of
not
Phoenix
Ash. Phoenix Ash is bad.
Okay,
but Fusion Rune.
Think of it this way.
I would rate that pretty high.
Really? Okay. Well, yeah. You are the pro.
The thing is, if you think about 70-minute games, right? What does it come down to? At that point, the game is complete fucking chaos. It's about whether you win the last fight or not. You suddenly have a carry.
Not in my games.
You can, from what I understood, you can cast this on someone. I didn't know this.
Oh,
it's not.
Okay. Well, you can still give it to them theoretically. So.
Either it's targetable or
I don't think it is.
I think it was Envy I talked to this about, and he was like, "This item is really fucking good because when you're 70 minutes in, you just use this on your carry and you go take a fight, and you have 3 tries to end the game, right?" And honestly, if you think about getting your carry double damage, invis, haste, illusion at the same time when they're 6 slotted, it's really strong.
I hate it.
I think.
I mean, you're probably right, but
I think it's a high skill item though. That's the thing. This is.
Well, what are you trying to say, syndereN?
Pro tier. Pro tier. This item I think is. Really
I used
good.
all 3 charges and we couldn't finish the game, and then I lost the item completely. I don't like the item. Okay. Yeah. And I had a Phoenix Ash as well. Not good. Consumables.
If you failed to win the game with 3 fusion runes, the game
was
over
fault.
80 minutes.
It's not my fault.
The game was over 80 minutes. I think. Yeah. What else? I mean, all of these items are obviously crazy. I think probably the worst one is Trident because you have to build it. Like, who 70 minutes in has a Sanjin Yasha anymore?
That's true.
You can keep it for the perspective of getting a Trident drop, but nobody's going to do that, right? So
the biggest game winner is Woodland Striders, being able to surround your throne or your ancient in trees, and they never have a Quelling Blade in pubs, syndereN. Just remember, they never can take down the trees.
I actually think Woodland Striders is an exceptionally high skill item, but
it's good. I'm not even memeing. Well,
if you put it on your courier, it can use shield and Woodland Striders, and then it can fly around the team fight and surround enemy heroes.
Well, true.
That is actually a play. I'm not even joking.
No,
I think that could be a thing. But yeah, these items are crazy. So, what else about neutral items do I think will be changed? I think, so here's probably my biggest gripe with this whole system right now. There's 2 things. I love talking about neutral items right now because it's such a big deal. Number one, they have no net worth, which really affects the economy of the game because now you have these supports that are hard to kill but are not worth much. It usually trickles down to supports a lot of these items, and they get tankier or get more utility. Killing a support that has an essence ring and a craggy coat, it's like you got double the HP. And you will be getting these items a lot of the time. But they give no net worth. The other thing is an item like Vambrace, where you have a hero that has net worth, you upgrade their items and you remove the net worth. That's a huge buff.
That's a bug, though.
To the player.
That one's 100% a bug. There's no way that's a feature. That's so stupid.
Well, it's a feature for every single item that's crafted, right? They all have no net worth. So Fallen Sky has no net worth. Trident has no net worth.
Right, but I'm
Ironwood
saying
Tree
that
has no net worth.
I consider that a bug more than all these neutral items. Other than those, it's very obvious it was intended to not have net worth for whatever reason. Those I feel like were not intended because that makes zero sense that you have an item and you literally lose net worth by combining it, which is to your benefit.
Yeah, it is. It's part of the item, and I don't really like that. For comparison, if you kill Roche and he drops Aghanim's Scepter, that increases your net worth by 6,000. So that item drop punishes you in terms of economy in a way no neutral item can even come close to. And I honestly think I'm not going to say that is why RNG lost the games that they were ahead, but it's a bigger contributing factor than people might think. If you're very far ahead in late game and you start getting these Aghanim Scepters, you get punished really hard for one bad fight. It's a 6k net worth on a hero. If you have 2 of those Roches, 12k net worth. And it makes games look really uneven, even if they're not as lopsided as you would think.
So do you think that they should just flip that? Just change it?
I don't know if the Aghanim shard from Roche should give
not the Aghanims. I'm talking about the neutral items. Shouldn't they just all give net worth boosts?
Yeah, but which one?
What do you mean, which one?
What net worth should the neutral items have?
Yeah, you'd have to come up with gold system.
A value for them?
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you give them a different value, then you're inherently saying that some of the drops are better than others, and we can't have that.
Why?
So
I mean, you're saying Quelling Blade is a good item, or Iron Talon's a good item?
No,
everyone knows it's shit.
You get where I'm coming from, right? If
I understand,
either you need to
decide,
that some items are just better, and that the punishment you get for getting a better item is that it increases your net worth more.
I think having tiers. I think having tiers within tiers is fine, as long as you have like 4 items that are about the same level within, like, say, tier 2. They're all worth the same. Then you have a medium tier within that tier, and then a third tier within that tier. You know what I mean? Yeah. Just based on price alone.
That was the thing I talked about some episodes back about the drops could be one from each of those categories. Then.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
But I don't think.
But then you feel worse when you get shitty, like you get 3 of the worst items.
Exactly.
You know they're the worst item because the gold value is worse, right? It could just be a hidden value that you just don't. They never talk about. It just increases it.
Yeah.
But then it gets weird for royal jelly because you're eating one and you're giving one to another.
Yeah.
Does that mean half and half? I don't know. It's weird.
If you make this change, that item will be removed. I'm pretty sure.
But I love royal jelly.
If that is what it comes down to.
We can't have that. We need royal jelly in our life.
So, okay, I want to finish off this talk so we can move on, but I have one more thing about neutral items. I think it's problematic in its current form that you can stack these items the way you do. So, 25 minutes in, you find 3 tier 3 items, and you put all of them on a Huskar. This literally happened in one of Nigma's games. Weehaw had a craggy coat, a paladin sword, and I want to say Mindbreaker, or maybe it was a tier 2 item he had. And you get all of these items at once, and you just put them on a win condition. And the game gets crazy, you know? Like, when people saw these items come out, they kind of imagined how they would be like, oh, this would be cool for this hero, this would be cool for this hero. Well, what if there is a hero that almost every item is good on in a tier?
Right.
And you put all of them on that guy at the right time in the game. 25 minutes in, Huskar's 3 slotted. He has an upgraded boots, he has a halberd, and he has an armlet. And then you give him 3 items on top of that. He is ridiculous. I honestly think the reason Nigma rated this hero this high is because of neutral items. If they didn't exist, they wouldn't have picked the hero all tournament almost, I think. But is that a good or a bad thing? I don't know. I think there's some talk that people have been talking about making a separate item slot. So every hero has a 6-slot inventory and 1 neutral slot, where you can carry 1 neutral item at any point in the game.
Right.
And then you can't use any more. And that just means there's a lot of them that are going to go to waste or go to the base, or maybe you need to reduce the number of drops. I think that's a really good band-aid solution for now. Ideally, honestly, if you asked me, do these items add value to the game? I think they're fun. We had I kind of like to conclude on this because how long has it been with this patch now? Like a month? A bit more?
Over a month, yeah.
A month and a half? When it came out, people were like revolting at this idea of neutral items. And I think now it's died down a little bit. I had a pretty positive outlook on both this and Outposts. Now that I've played and watched a lot of games, to be honest, I don't know if this adds to the game in terms of enjoyment factor, right? If it adds value. It adds complexity, it adds craziness, but does it add to the gameplay? My favorite thing that could happen with this, which is never going to happen, probably, is that they remove the concept entirely and they take the 10 coolest items that they came up with and then they add them to the store. So you can buy some of these items in edited versions or whatever.
Fallen Sky, 12,000 gold.
Well, I mean, whatever. You could keep the recipe. Like, have it be made from Blink Dagger Meteor Hammer and a recipe for 2k gold and then nerf the item. I would be fine with that. If you could balance the concept, why not? Either that or a token system where the neutrals, instead of dropping a random item, they drop a token and then there's a shop.
See, I think that should never be discussed. I think that's so stupid and convoluted. It just makes everything so much more complex. Because you have to think, what is the reason they added neutral items? There's a couple. Number one, well, there's 3 maybe. Number 1 is just to spice things up. Number 2 is to help increase the playability of the positions 4s and 5 mostly, because you can actually have items you feel tankier. And number 3 is to cater towards casual people, which you could combine with number 2 if you want, to make the game feel less complex because you're just getting random items. You don't even need to think about it anymore. You're just like, oh, this item dropped. I don't have to choose what to buy. I don't have this crazy different economy system to purchase these specific items. Like I think we should never talk about that personally.
I personally, I'm a bit unsure if it were to be a token system, if I'd like it more than the current one, but I don't think it's the perfect solution anyway. I think there's a better way of going about it. But that's something that has also been talked about, because then suddenly neutral items become a strategy factor where you plan ahead and build your strategies around timings where when you hit tier 3, these are the items that we want. These are the heroes we're going to put them on, and we know we're going to get them. But inherently, that might actually create more imbalance than the current version, because then some heroes will always get their best items, right? And then every game there will be, at least it's reliable, but then that will also be a tough balancing act. Like, I said this when these items came out. I think balancing Dota will be the hardest it's ever been.
I think they're up for the challenge, but I think my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, is it worth that headache over this? Is the question.
Let's talk about that, because Dota right now is not in, I would say, a great place player base wise, in terms of there's a big patch and the numbers are not very good compared to other times when they came out with big patches. We've lost a lot of players. Sumail's thoughts on the patch, which we can briefly discuss. He thinks it's the best patch he's ever played. He thinks that the RNG in terms of the items doesn't matter that much in the grand scheme of things, especially when you compare it to the RNGs of like the power runes. Well, I guess we can discuss this first before moving on. Do you obviously disagree with that, right? At least on some level.
I personally, on some level I definitely do. I think the rune argument is really good because I mean, from my perspective, that has been a problem for years. The minute 2 runes that also used to be minute 0, by the way, a while back. That's why it got changed. The minute 2 runes are way too impactful in mid. If you get a double damage, it can win you a lost lane. And if you get an illusion, it can make almost no difference, or an invis that's useless. So there's also an inherent issue there that I don't know what the fix to is. I personally wouldn't be mad at making the first rune spawn at minute 4 instead of minute 2, because already then the lane has developed to a point where if you were favored or outplayed your opponent, you won, and they're probably not coming back at minute 4 compared to minute 2. That's
Why
a
do you
very
need
big
power
difference.
runes? I'm not saying you should get rid of them, but I'm just curious what you
Right.
think they even exist, other
I
than to
think the
fill up a
reason they
bottle.
were in, I think the reason they were implemented and have always kind of been a part of the game is that they generate moments in the game, and that's kind of what neutral items do too. It's like there's this thing that happens that's exciting, and it does something to shake up the game state. If power runes didn't exist, like imagine Dota without power runes and without smoke, then
I mean,
like,
you can argue that this current patch, power runes mean less than they used to, right? Because there's so many other things happening. You talk about the neutral items, you talk about the outpost, bounty runes. There's a shit ton going on. I'm not saying you should get rid of it again, but it's just interesting to think about.
Yeah. In my honest opinion, I think double damage has always been overpowered. That's my opinion. I think the rune has always been too good and should not give double damage.
1.5 damage. That's
yeah.
what the announcer will say.
And you could just rename the rune, right? Instead of it being called double damage, it could
just damage.
I mean, whatever you want to call
damage rune.
Damage rune.
Yeah, why not?
Rune of ferocity.
Well, that's the thing. Like, you don't even have to redo the voice lines. They all say double damage. Now you just say damage. You just delete the part of the voice line. It's fine. You don't have to pay anybody. Just
you're speaking of the rune. Everybody looks fucking stupid in this game. Ooh, damage.
So yeah, the player base has dwindled a bit for sure. I'm a little bit worried personally.
Helped?
I don't think the patch has hurt, if anything. I feel like, right?
So if you look at the numbers of this patch compared to others, when a big patch drops, and you think about whether this was a success, that's what I'm getting at with this. Is this system worth it? A lot of people think it's super fun and really cool. To a lot of other people, it's going away from what Dota used to be, and it's getting too crazy and too complex, which is something you thought you'd never say about Dota, but it's overwhelming to the casual player, a lot of this, I think, when this suddenly comes in.
Yeah, relearning everything is crazy.
Phased it in with like 20 items in the start instead of 62 or however many we had.
I disagree with that, actually, just because when you come out with a big patch, it needs to make a splash. Right? I mean, it needs to be a big splash.
If there were 4 items in every tier, this would have still made a splash. I'm pretty sure.
But 62? That's a big number.
I mean, it is ridiculous, right? I feel like I don't know what Valve think about this system and what it does to the game. They look at player base, they look at how it affects pro games, they look at the overall thing. I personally don't think there's any shame if this were to happen. There's no shame in saying it's a failed system. Like, if you don't like what ended up happening, you don't have to feel like you're a failure by saying we will remove the system. It's been happening. There's other things in the game that have been removed that were introduced. Like, we've had heroes removed in Dota 1. Heroes that were added and were just fucking
But we're talking about
ridiculous,
modern times now,
right?
not the ancient times where you had to download the map manually and you had to wait and remake maps 50 times before the game started. This would be
what's your
pretty
concern?
big disaster.
Like, let's say you're Valve, right? Let's say you're Valve. You've run this system. You've tried to balance it. It has made some people like it. Some people don't. The player base is dwindling. The pro games are not really increasing in viewership or quality. The pros are not like, fuck yeah, these items are amazing. Let's keep this forever. They're kind of like torn, where some people think they're fun and good. Some people dislike them. Some people are indifferent. I don't feel like there's like an overwhelm. There's not like any overwhelming.
It's very mixed.
It's really mixed,
polarizing.
Right? And if you make polarizing concepts like this and they remain polarizing, I think, for example, talents is the perfect counterexample. Talents came out. Some people were like, man, this is not good for the game. I don't want to have these choices. I don't think we should have this for whatever argument's reason. I feel like that very quickly had a vast majority support compared to this. Like, it's really what it feels like to me. And that is a system that I love and want to keep forever. The talent system is amazing. This kind of, compared to that, kind of falls flat as a system.
It does, for sure.
And I mean, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. What I will say, though, is that it should absolutely not stay in its current form. I think that is...
I just can't envision a time when they will just delete the whole thing. Because think of it this way, because you have another issue. If you delete it, then there's a bunch of people that will actually be angry. Not like right now, people are like, they're kind of meh about the whole thing. I'm sure there are some people that are still angry about the items being there, but you delete this, there are some people that will be very angry that they're gone and they will miss them.
Well, then you can, for example, the one item slot is a very, very, very soft version of what we have now, which I think is a great compromise where because every hero has one slot, you have a really good chance of getting an item that your hero wants in the game, and you don't have this item stacking and broken heroes with 3 or 4 neutral items. And you also nerf supports, which, you would be surprised to hear this from a support player, but supports are too good right now in mid late game. We're scaling too hard. Like, I don't think support should have these like 3 neutral items minute 30 and be bosses. That's part of my problem with an item like Witless Shaco, right? Is that you don't put this on a core most of the time because they don't have the item slot or can't afford to lose 400 mana. You put it under Disruptor, perfect. Thank you for the plus 1,000 health.
Yeah.
It's crazy. This amount of stuff.
And then
is
the
crazy.
other team just happens to not get that, and that's an inherent advantage for that specific game, right? It's just
there's
then
a lot
they
get
of
a
RNG.
Minotaur Horn or
Ugh,
and
Minotaur Horn's so fucking bad.
Yeah.
So you feel like they should, at the very least, make it a more bare bones version of what it is. But in an ideal world, you want it deleted.
In my order of preference, if I could choose exactly what happened and nothing else would be impacted by it, like people wouldn't care or people wouldn't like leave or whatever the game because of it or feel angry at Valve. If we just talk from the game's perspective, isolated, number one, remove the concept entirely and add the coolest items that you came out of this brainstorm, because there's a lot of cool items that could make it into the game. That's my favorite. Second favorite, one designated item slot where you get to carry one neutral item per hero. And the third one is the token system. And I still probably like the token system more than the current one, but I totally understand why a lot of people wouldn't.
Garbage.
It's because I'm more focused on the fairness of the system and the game rather than like the randomness or the hassle, if you will, the complexity. I personally am not like. It's also, if we've played the game for 25,000 hours or whatever, complexity is not a problem for us, right? So,
well, speak for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, compared to new players, this adding complexity like this, we learn it really fast.
I don't know if you know
like
this,
if you think about how crazy of a change this is.
I'm incapable of activating Spell Shield and Anti-Mage.
Yeah, well, that's
a brain problem. Continue.
It's I don't actually know where to go with that, but you're just beyond saving. Yeah.
Is that the end of your statement? Did I just ruin the whole podcast?
I mean, I feel like I could talk about this forever, and in a way that's both a good and a bad thing. It's like the system has so much to give and there's so much to talk about, but the fact that there's so much conflict is also a problem, right? Like, ideally, we would like to be able to pinpoint one or two things that we don't like, and then that gets fixed, and we're happy. If, like, talents, we're like, GPM talents or XPM talents or whatever are stupid. Respawn talents are broken. Next patch, they get removed. Nobody complains about talents for 2 years.
Yeah.
I don't see that fix to this system. But the Band-Aid solution with one item slot is my best one so far if you want to keep a system like this. So let's see what
I don't hate it. I don't hate it. So another reason, I don't know if you could, maybe there's data to suggest this is actually a reason, but maybe another reason people are kind of straying away from the game. I don't know if you have this issue in your bracket, but in mine, there are a lot of Smurfs, syndereN. It is a real issue.
There's a ton of smurfing, a ton of boosting, and I think that should be the number one priority to combat that rather than change the patch. If that gets done, if you could allocate man hours, that would be the biggest thing they need to fix. Because I agree. I think the biggest reason we have lost players is people get frustrated with, with the stuff in the game that's not the game itself. You know what I mean? Like, all of the secondary things that are problematic, like queue times or horribly imbalanced matches or toxicity, all of the stuff that, Icefrog can't fix by just changing things in the game. Part of me actually thinks it has been an attempt at combating some of the, like, toxicity. That this system
What,
was
the item
inherently
system?
partially the random items. I think
Yeah.
part of the reason that the system was introduced, or at least a consideration with it, was that if we make all of these items drop and everybody gets stronger in the game, it's gonna be less finger pointing because everybody will have higher impact.
Yeah.
There won't
I
be
agree.
that guy that just has a shit game and it's just shit. If you have a bad game, you're still going to be able to come back and feel like you have a presence with these items. And maybe that has been an attempt at lowering toxicity. I don't know if it's worked at all. But you have less of those games where a guy goes like 0-15 and just has a horrible time. Because there's always that thing to look forward to where, like, when neutral items come out, I'll do more in the game. And I think that's kind of cool as an idea. I just wish we could do it some other way. But,
so in terms of the Smurfs, what do you have any
Mm.
ideas that you think would help combat the system? Why hasn't anything really been done? I think I mean, I could be wrong here. The last thing I
Mhm.
remember being done is the phone number thing, which,
yeah,
you know, a lot of
I
people
think
have more than access to more than one phone.
I
So
think
it's
they've
not really that
updated their
big.
Smurf detection, so it's faster at upranking people.
Is it though?
Or not upranking them, but placing them. So, for example, let's say Miracle makes a Smurf, and he plays 100 games, and then starts playing ranked, or 100 hours, and then starts playing ranked. In his first few games, he will trash people, and then he will, even if his medal isn't going up very fast, he will start getting placed with people in a different bracket. I think Valve's goal, or I hope Valve's goal, is to, we talked about this theoretically like months ago on this podcast, the idea of having such a good machine learning system that it can actually tell within 5 minutes, it can pinpoint your MMR within 1,000.
That's a pipe dream, though. I mean, that sounds amazing, and I agree. It's possible.
Not as ridiculous as you would think.
No. Hear me out. It's not impossible by any means. There's no way they're going to spend time doing that, though. 100% guarantee.
If they can implement a system like this, it will solve all of their competitive games going forward.
I agree.
If they can find a way of doing this, that should have really fucking big value for a company that makes multiplayer games. Is to make multiplayer games enjoyable for all the players.
I think that comes
secondary. How is that not a priority?
That comes, I mean, we're the consumer. That's how we always feel. From a big company standpoint, that is definitely never the priority, whether you think so or not. It's up there, but there's things that are more important to a big company.
Imagine you see the rampant smurfing and the rampant boosting, and you see people leaving the game, and you try to you add a spark with all of these items, and you make the game crazier and more casual friendly and more fun, and your player numbers are still dropping. Isn't that something you would want to fix? I don't know. I mean, we're theorizing here. They have the data, they have the numbers, and maybe we're just wrong. I just don't know what else it would be. I don't think there's like, we just magically hit a year where everybody has kids and stops playing, or where we're reaching a breaking point where too many of the players get full-time jobs, so they play way less than they used to.
Guys, you need to quit your jobs and play Dota again.
I'm not really buying that argument, because I don't think it would be such a sharp marking from one year to the next, right? Yeah. We're getting less new players. That's very clear. It should be more of a gradual change. So something is like plaguing the game that isn't just natural, and you should be trying to fix that plague, right?
I mean, I agree with you. It has nothing to do with my opinion. I just don't think that Valve will do anything about that. Nothing to that level. You're talking about like creating an AI essentially to do that for you, right?
If they do something, here's my 2 cents. If they fix the problem, that's how they're going to do it. I would turn the argument and say that if Valve get a fix, it will be an automated one, because none of them wants to fucking manually deal with the shit. That's what they've done in the past. But you have to put in the
work to make it work.
It's like the thing they did in CSGO that we talked about, the Overwatch system, where they have an AI trained based on a lot of people doing manual reports. So the AI has helped the system a lot with detecting cases. It's still a manual punishment in the end. It's the Overwatch people that decide, but the number of cases that get handed to them are way more likely to be truly cheating or whatever it is.
Well, first they need to come up with that manual system like Overwatch. When we say Overwatch, guys, it's the CSGO replay thingy called Overwatch. It's not the game. Yeah. The god-awful game.
I think I don't know why we can't have that in Dota.
I agree.
The problem is the implementation in CSGO is a lot simpler because it's about cheating, right? It's if somebody is cheating. And I don't know how big of a problem cheating is in Dota compared to smurfing, boosting, and toxicity. Toxicity you're not getting rid of. Like, I think that is the pipe dream. Every game has this in multiplayer, and I think it's very natural, and I think it's something you unfortunately have to put up with. You could obviously combat it and make it less prevalent than it is, but it will be there. And you can't make an automated system punishing it, because then you have somebody making a joke in all chat at his friend on the other team, calling him a moron, and then they get banned for having fun with their friend, right? Like, language is way too complex to be automated like that. What you can automate is cheating, because it's like either you're cheating or you're not, right? But language is such a gray zone half the time that
even the type of cheating that occurs in Dota is not as noticeable as it would be in Counter-Strike either.
Right.
Even even Counter-Strike, it can be subtle. Don't get me wrong. There are people that cheat are really good at it. But Dota, a lot of it is more subtle, in my opinion. Unless you get you completely fuck up and you get your automated Yules to go off, but you have to look at where their cursor is going. There's a lot that goes into it that not the average person will be able to see.
But we don't think... I'm guessing you think the same way based on what we said so far. We don't think that cheating is the reason people are quitting as much.
No.
Because that was a really big problem in Counter-Strike at one point. People were stopping with Counter-Strike because there were way too many cheaters, and that's why they had to implement this system. There was way too much cheating.
Yeah.
I don't think that's... Because I think in Dota, cheating is always a big deal, and I absolutely hate cheating, and I would never want it to be part of any game that I play, obviously. But relative to Counter-Strike, I think the cheating in Dota... It's hard to say if it has the same game impact as it does in CS, because it feels like in CS, if there's a team of four clean players and a cheater against five clean players, the cheater will win the game. In my mind, he will win the game by having information or by getting too many kills. In Dota, he will have an advantage that's severe, but I don't know if he can convert it into a win with the same success rate as in CS, if that makes sense.
I agree. Yeah, for sure.
Because like, if you have, let's say you have map hack or whatever, if you have some sort of way of seeing the whole map, how do you communicate with the team in a way that doesn't get you banned? If you see everything, you can't tell your teammates really, so you can use it for yourself and you can try to like guide fights or whatever, but it doesn't seem like it would work.
A lot of pinging, over pinging.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a weird one. Yeah. I don't know how we got on the cheating thing. I don't think that's as rampant as...
No.
I mean, some people... It's more Smurfing is just... everywhere.
We got into it because of Overwatch as a system, right? Being designed for cheating. But for smurfing and for boosting, you can't really make it the same way. I think an auto-detect system is the best thing you've got. And personally, I really don't think, with Valve's skill set and how good they are and how much data they have, if they want to, the pipe dream you were talking about, I really don't think it's that far away. That
syndereN,
they can
I think you
make a system.
I think you misunderstand what I mean.
You're saying the pipe dream from the perspective of them actually doing it, not from them being able to do it.
Yes, that is 100% correct.
Right. So do we think they're going to do anything then?
I think they will, of course.
Okay, what will they do instead then? If you think this is not happening, what do you think they'll do instead?
They'll have a big ban session going on, people with multiple accounts. Past that, I'm sure there's some stuff you can do. Are they going to ban pro
player Smurfs?
They should.
Okay.
I mean, we talked about how Soxa has 3 of the top 4 in EU. I don't think they will either, because players have... How do I put this? There's a totem pole in Dota. Pro players are at the top. Nobody's higher. Not even close. You can jump off a cliff, swim through some, cesspool of whatever the fuck you want to create there. Underneath that cesspool are like the casters, the tournament organizers, everybody. The pro players, they're watching from above and laughing. They're untouchable. Aside from the ones that cheat and they get banned for life. They get fucked real hard. Anywho.
Well, Valve is at the top.
Yeah, that's true.
And then there's the pros.
Okay, so that's the end of our Dota session. Part of the podcast. I do want to discuss a couple of the things before we wrap up this episode, syndereN. The first one, I probably should have put this at the beginning, but this is really random, okay?
Okay.
I didn't really think about this until recently. What's the best way to explain this? So I've had this issue for my entire life. In my imagination.
IBS?
No, that's only been the last 10 years. So do you have issues imagining things? Like if you want to think of something, you can think of anything in your mind, you have no problem. And you can manipulate them in any way you want. You have no issues, correct?
Yes.
So I have this very specific scenario, and I don't know what the fuck is wrong with me. Maybe this is more of a plea to the public for somebody to tell me what the hell's wrong with me. If I try to envision somebody shooting a basketball, I can never make them make the basket in my head. I literally cannot envision a basketball go through a hoop in my mind. What the fuck is wrong with me?
That's because you've watched the Suns play.
All right, I set you up for that one. All right, next topic. Next topic. I'm really interested to see if anybody has any idea what that is, because it's like a mental block or something. I don't know.
I've never heard of this before.
I know, it's weird. I've never heard anybody talk about it either. I don't know why I thought about this, but it was always a thing as a kid, and I just tried doing it the other day.
You've had it your whole life, but okay. So you mentioned the basketball example. Is it like specifically with that, or can it be anything?
Give me something.
Can you imagine a train driving through a tunnel and not crashing?
Yes, easy.
Okay. So it's not about something that's supposed to happen and then fails or whatever.
Right.
It's only a basketball hitting a net.
So if I envision it from the top down, where you're looking down into the hoop, I can picture the basketball going through. If it's from like a horizontal standpoint where you're seeing somebody shoot it, like in a real game, I cannot envision somebody making a basket. It always hits the rim and it always bounces away. How
about with do you have it with any other sports? Like, is there another sport that has a similar? You can easily imagine that.
Yeah, football easy.
So it sounds like it has something to do with the 3D perspective of the basket being the goal being scored from above. Is there any other sport where you do it like that?
Not that I can think of. Anyway, I just wanted to bring this up because it was just
honestly,
so
that is really fucking fascinating. Not gonna lie.
Maybe there's some psych majors out there.
Really stupid, but it's fascinating.
I probably just have like this tumor in my head that I've had since I was a baby. And
somebody said golf. How about that?
Oh, golf's fine.
It just makes no fucking sense. I'm not gonna lie.
All right, last topic before we bid everybody adieu. syndereN, I know this is a very, very special topic for you because you are
close to heart for me.
You are a connoisseur like no one else I've known at watching movies. Oscar nominees, syndereN. Let's go through them. I will. How do you want to do this? Do you have any preference? Because you're the one that knows jack all about this.
You go through the nominees.
Okay.
And I will say who should win based on how they look.
Okay.
So the poster art for the movie or based on the look of the actor.
Okay.
Yes.
So we'll go through these actress in supporting. So the actors and actresses and then best picture. So scroll down a bit, syndereN. We'll start with...
We don't do the rest.
No, we're not doing the rest.
Okay. Why not? Don't you want this to be a 45-minute segment that I have no idea about?
I kind of do, but we won't. Yeah, actress in a supporting role, we have Kathy Bates for Richard Jewell. We have Laura Dern for Marriage Story. Scarlett Johansson for Jojo Rabbit. Margot Robbie for Bombshell. And Florence Pugh for Little Women. Do you have any favorites out of these, syndereN? I only saw one of these movies, so you're not alone.
Okay. I think out of these pictures... The one that looks like does the best in a supporting role is probably Laura Dern in Marriage Story.
Okay, very good. That's actually on
imagine
Netflix.
This. Yo, we should write this down.
Yeah,
we should write down the predictions. And if I am right about more than you, that would be so fucking funny.
Oh, you want to make a bet out of it?
Just predict who you think will win.
No. We're making a bet.
What are we betting?
I don't know. What are we betting? Let's come up with a bet first.
Now, so here's the problem. If we're betting something, I will be biased towards who I think will actually win, not this random system.
What random system?
What do you mean not random? I'm literally looking at the picture art to decide who should
you
win.
pick who you think is going to win, and I will pick who I think is going to win, and we make a bet out of it.
That's not as fun as this, though.
syndereN, I think everyone
Whatever,
wants
I'll
to
eat
see
it.
us
What's
do a bet.
what's the punishment?
Well, you have to eat your
let's make a bet.
god-awful thing that you hate, and what do I have to do?
not
Because I already
this.
ate my tomatoes.
What else can we do?
Well,
It's
you don't
more
want
fun
to. You don't want to eat. Oh, you want it to be the same for both of us?
Yes, it's the same concept. That's more fun.
Okay, how about we have to do 10 push-ups on stream
I
or
can't.
on camera? What do you mean you can't?
I can't do push-ups.
I'm sorry, what?
I can't do push-ups.
What does that mean?
I've never been able to.
What?
I'm not kidding.
You are lying.
I have never
new
in my life
topic.
been able to.
What the fuck? That's weird, man. I am a fucking obese and I can do a... What do you mean you can't do a push-up? What does that mean?
I can easily push myself up from the ground.
Okay.
But the stabilizing on the way down doesn't work for me. And
Are you an alien?
Do you have
bipodal?
You are the one with the fucking basketball problem. You are the alien.
That's
here.
a very specific scenario. This is a push-up. All right, think of something else. Wow, this is...
Okay,
I'm getting a whole new side
so
of you.
what I can't tell you is why. I don't know if it's something mental or if it's something physical or whatever, and when. But I have never been able to confidently. If you just tell me do 10 push-ups,
Yeah.
I can push myself up 10 times, but I can't push myself back down. Like
Wow.
pushing up is not hard at all, but the whole
That's the harder part.
What's it called? Like contraction or whatever? Would you call it that? Where you go back down again?
Sure.
That's...
All right, how about this? Since we're doing this live, how about after the podcast or in the next week? Because we have... Oscars isn't until February 9th, syndereN. We make this bet and just agree to a bet later, what it's the actual terms of the bet. Okay?
What kind of system is that? Dude?
It's fine. They just won't hear about what the bet is specifically, the stipulations, but we can figure out the details later. But we make the bet now and we go forward with the nominations. Sound good?
Okay.
Okay, so back to actress in a supporting role. Keep in mind, I'm kind of in the blue out of nowhere here as well because I don't know most of these movies.
Okay.
Believe it or not.
Well, it's going to be Laura Dern in Marriage Story. So.
Okay, Laura Dern in Marriage Story for you.
Mm-hmm.
I will not go for that because that's a Netflix film. I will go for...
Wait, so you think they're going to win based on money?
There's money involved, sure. Oh, Netflix, I don't know.
No. Surely this is absolutely pure and only based on skill.
I'm going to go with the only one I actually watched, and I thought she did a really good job. Kathy Bates in Richard Jewell. Excellent movie.
That would have been my second choice. All right.
Too bad.
She looks like she could win.
We'll
Okay,
alternate.
next.
Are we allowed to choose the same people?
Sure, we are.
Okay. So do you care who goes first?
No, doesn't matter.
All right. Actor in a supporting role. Tom Hanks in A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Anthony Hopkins in The Two Popes. Al Pacino in The Irishman. Joe Pesci, The Irishman. And Brad Pitt, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
So do I go first again?
I mean, do you care who goes first? If it doesn't matter,
Not
just
really.
go first every time.
I'll take
'cause
Anthony
haven't seen
Hopkins in The Two Popes.
Okay. I will... I have not seen The Irish. I've only seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I don't think Brad Pitt will win. He never wins. I think we're going to get some sympathy votes, syndereN, and we're going to see Tom Hanks in A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood.
Okay.
Next, actress in a
He
leading
looks
role.
like he could win.
He could. Cynthia Erivo in Harriet. Scarlett Johansson again in Marriage Story this time. Wow, two. I didn't even realize. Holy shit. She's in two. That's impressive. Saoirse Ronan, I never know how to say her name, in Little Women. Charlize Theron in Bombshell, and Renee Zellweger in Judy, which, by the way, I cannot stand this chick. She's so fucking annoying. Go ahead. She has the most annoying face. Please pick her. She's won before, so.
Okay. I will take...
I've seen none of these movies.
I'll take Cynthia Erivo in Harriet. She looks very concerned, and she might win because of that concerned look.
Okay.
She's like, I hope I win. This is very dramatic.
I think we're going to see... I think she won last year or the year before. I'm going to go with Saoirse Ronan. Again, I have no idea how to say that name, from Little Women. Have not seen any of these movies either. All right, moving on to actor in a leading role. Antonio Banderas in Pain and Glory. Leonardo DiCaprio in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Adam Driver in Marriage Story, Joaquin Phoenix in Joker, and Jonathan Pryce in The Two Popes.
Jonathan Pryce in The Two Popes. What a boss.
Wow. Okay,
This
that's a
guy's a
Netflix
boss.
film. This one's hard. I've seen The Joker. I've seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I have not seen Marriage Story. I'm going to go Adam Driver in Marriage Story. Just a wild guess.
Jonathan Pryce acts in a way like he did in Game of Thrones,
that's why you picked
I mean, I'm
Only
picking them
person you
based on
recognize.
completely. Dude, I'm picking them on arbitrary things like the picture, okay?
Yeah.
But I actually have a little bit of an opinion on this one for once. I thought he was really, really good in Game of Thrones. Okay. For those who don't know, he was what were they called? The poor in
don't
Game
remember.
of Thrones. What were they
I know
called?
I know what you're talking
Somebody in chat can tell me in like 10 seconds when delay catches up.
Sparrow.
He was the
High
High
Septon.
Sparrow. Yes, the High Sparrow. Super good character. I thought he was amazing in that. So, and I've also heard that his acting in this was incredible. So I'm not surprised he's nominated.
So
that's kind of the only one I know about or have heard anything about. I've obviously heard about Joker, but the only person that
from me
I've heard anything about. Yeah, I heard about Joker from you.
If I was going based, again, I have not seen Marriage Story yet. I've just heard that it was really good. I think it'll win something. So that's why I'm going Adam Driver.
Okay.
Based on the movies I've seen, I thought Joaquin Phoenix was incredible on Joker. I would not be surprised if he wins, but I will go Adam Driver. All right, last one, syndereN. Best Picture. Ford versus Ferrari, The Irishman, Jojo Rabbit, Joker, Little Women, Marriage Story, 1917, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Parasite.
Okay. So I actually have a really accurate opinion on this one, Shannon, because the category is called Best Picture. So now I can just look at the pictures and tell you which one is the best picture.
Okay.
And that one should win.
Please do.
Out of all of these posters, I think the best picture is Marriage Story.
Marriage Story? Okay.
Yes.
You're picking Marriage Story. I don't know if this is cheating, but the Golden Globes just happened, syndereN.
Yep.
And one of these just won that, so I'm going to pick the same one. Is that cheating?
No.
Okay, I'm going with 1917. Have not seen it. Ford versus Ferrari was okay. Joker was incredible. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was really good. Have not seen 1917, but it won a Golden Globe, so fuck it. 1917. Okay. Yep. Speaking of movies, syndereN, have you seen In Bruges?
No.
Over the holidays. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Really appreciate it. Until next time, SUNSfan and syndereN signing out. We'll talk about what the bet entails in the next episode.
Yeah. Do some push-ups for me, guys. Be good. All right. Peace.
Yeah, somebody look up my mental issue and syndereN's physical issue. Until next time, goodbye. We say things that don't mean anything, but thanks for listening.